Welcome to the Explainer. All right, let's talk about a huge pain point for so many businesses, accounts payable. If it feels like you're constantly fighting a never-ending mountain of invoices, then you're really going to want to see this. We're going to break down how the SAP Automatic Payment Program, or APP, can take all that chaos and turn it into smooth, automated control. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into the why, the whole invoice overload problem. Then, we'll meet our automated assistant, the app itself. After that, we'll see how to set up the rules, teach it how to think. We'll watch it in action during a payment run, tackle some of those tricky special cases, and then wrap up by looking at the huge difference this all makes, going from total chaos to complete control. All right, first things first, let's really set the stage here and talk about a headache that's, well, pretty universal for any accounting department.
So what's the core challenge? It's pretty simple, but it's massive. You've got this constant, relentless stream of vendor invoices just pouring in. It's like a funnel that never stops, burying your team in paperwork, and every single piece needs to be handled right now, and it has to be perfect. And when you're trying to do all this by hand, the consequences, they're very real. You're leaving money on the table by missing early payment discounts. You're getting hit with late fees. And all that manual data entry, it's slow, and honestly, it's just asking for errors, costly errors. It's basically a recipe for financial friction and headaches.
So, the big question is, how do you get out from under that mountain of paperwork? Well, let's meet the solution, the Automatic Payment Program, or AOP. The best way to think about the APP is like having this super smart, totally trustworthy financial assistant working for you 24/7. Seriously, you just give it the rule book and it handles the entire payables process on its own. It picks the right invoices, posts the payments, and even creates the files to send to the bank. And it doesn't matter if that bank is down the street or on the other side of the planet.
And this little flowchart here, this is basically the magic in action. So an invoice gets entered into the system. But after that, the system pretty much takes the wheel. It analyzes everything that's due, groups it all into a payment proposal, and then, and this is key, it hands it off for a human to review. Once you say go, then it executes the payment automatically.
But of course, before the APP can work all that magic, you have to teach it the rules of the road. This is the one-time setup, the configuration, where you basically build its brain. First up, you start at the very top. You're essentially drawing a map of your company's structure for the system. This tells it which company codes can pay on behalf of other company codes. This is absolutely crucial if you're a bigger organization and you want to do centralized payments. Okay, next we get a little more specific. We drill down into the rules for each company that's actually sending out the money. For example, you could set a rule that says, hey, don't even bother processing a payment for less than $10. It's a great way to avoid those tiny, trivial payments and save some money on bank fees.
Now we're talking about how you pay in different countries. You get to define what's allowed where. So for Germany, you might say bank transfers are the way to go. But maybe for one of your US operations, you only want to allow checks. This is how you make sure you're always using the best and most compliant payment method for every single region.
So, after you set those broad country-level rules, you can get even more granular for your specific company code. For instance, even though bank transfers are generally allowed in the US, you could set a specific rule for your company that puts a $50,000 cap on any single transfer, just for an extra layer of security.
Okay, this part is really cool. This is where you get to bake your financial strategy right into the system. You basically create a ranked list, a pecking order for your bank accounts. You can tell the app, hey, always try to use this account first because it has the lowest fees, or prioritize this other one because we need to manage its cash balance. It's really powerful. And last but not least, you give the system its wallet. You define all your house banks. That's just the master list of all the company bank accounts it's allowed to use. And just like that, with all these rules in place, you've built an automated decision-making engine for your payments. Pretty neat, right?
All right, so our rulebook is written. The system is smart. Now for the exciting part. Let's see how this all comes together in an actual payment run using the famous transaction code F1110. So, when you kick off a payment run in F110, the first thing you do is go to the Parameters tab. You're basically giving the program its marching orders for this specific run by answering these key questions. What are we paying? How are we paying it? And so on. Now, this four-step process really highlights something super important about the APP. It's all about automation with oversight.
See, the system does all the heavy lifting. It creates the whole payment proposal for you. But step 3, that's your mandatory checkpoint. That's where a person has to look it over, check for any issues, and give the final okay before a single dollar actually leaves your account.
Okay, but what about those weird, non-standard situations? Well, the APP is flexible enough to handle those too. Let's take a look at a couple of really common examples.
So here's a classic one. What if you only want to pay part of an invoice? You don't want to pay the whole thing, but you still want to use this awesome automated process. How do you do that?
It's actually pretty straightforward. You see, after the full invoice is posted, you just create a special little document called a payment request. You make it for the exact partial amount you want to pay, say 20 grand out of 25. Then, when you run the APP, it's smart enough to see that payment request and it'll pick that up instead of the full invoice. Problem solved.
All right, another big question. So, posting the payment in SAP is great. Your books are updated, but that's only half the battle, right? How do you actually tell your bank to send the money? This is where the APP acts like a kind of universal translator. It takes all the payment details and uses tools, like the powerful Data Medium Exchange Engine, or DMEE, to package everything up into a file. And not just any file, but a file in the exact format that your specific bank needs. This makes the handoff to the bank totally seamless. Okay, so when you step back and look at the whole picture, what's the real transformation here? What does the app actually do for a business?
Well, it's a fundamental shift. It takes accounts payable from being this slow, reactive, error-prone tactical chore and turns it into something fast, proactive, and highly accurate. You go from having zero visibility to a full audit trail. It stops being just a task and becomes a truly strategic part of the business.
And really, the key takeaway here is that this is about so much more than just paying bills faster. It's about turning a manual, reactive task into a strategic financial tool, a tool that actively goes out and captures discounts for you, that minimizes your risk, and that gives you truly intelligent control over one of your most important assets, your cash flow.
And that's our deep dive into the SAP Automatic Payment Program. It really is a game changer. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you've seen how a core financial process like this can be totally transformed, what other manual tasks in your business are just waiting for the same kind of automation?